Hey everyone, I'm Majin Bay, and welcome in to World Tour Weekly, your one-stop shop for all competitive Flesh and Blood news. Last week we had a lot to cover with national championships going on and a couple of IRA spoilers to reveal. Somehow this week we have even more stuff to talk about. National season is in full swing, we're only a couple weeks away from the Pro Tour, and we got a trailer reveal for the new set. Let's get into it. As with before, we are going to be a little bit strapped for time, so let's jump straight into today's weekend winners. Last week, I predicted that Warriors were going to have a pretty good weekend, winning at least 2 national championships. We had a total of 15 over the weekend, and 0 Warriors won, so that one didn't quite pan out. What we did get was a pretty diverse group of winners, with a couple of heroes pulling a little bit ahead of the pack. Alright, without any further ado, here are your newly crowned national champions. Jun Pan took down the Luxembourg National Championship on Arachne Marionette. Lucas Surzin won Slovakia's national championship on Syndra. Ian Zhang piloted Dash.io to a first place finish in the Netherlands. Aaron Boyan won UK Nationals on Gravy Bones. Vladislavas Kofirinaz won in Lithuania with Verdance. Yanis Koumidis took Arachne Slip Through the Cracks to a first place finish in Cyprus. Croatia's national championship was won by Nikola Kramaric on Prism. Bulgaria's was won by Antoine Yordanev on Vincent, which is always a fun hero to see do well. Nguyen Tuan An won Vietnam's national championship on Katsu, which is a hero I definitely did not expect to win one. Joris Verhelst brought Kano a trophy in Belgium. Brandon Pei won Singapore's national championship on Arachne Slip Through the Cracks. Oliver Berry took down New Zealand's event on Gravy Bones. Rafael Barres won in Brazil with Prism. Arthur Trehay won in France with Gravy Bones. And finally, Odi Winata took down Indonesia's national championship on Arachne Slip Through the Cracks. We do have one last winner because Michael Hamilton won Battlehardened Houston on Gravy Bones. I also want to put in a small little shout out to my boy Ethan Van Sant getting 10th place in Battlehardened Houston on Acilio in his final ever rated event. Congratulations to all of our new national champions. And Michael Hamilton. And Ethan. That was a ton of heroes and events I just threw at you, so let's go ahead and break it down in today's Metagame Minute. Alright, when I look at the events over this last weekend, 2 things really stand out to me. Number 1 is that Gravy Bones is absolutely here to stay. He's a known quantity at this point, and players can expect him to show up in big numbers at tournaments. Last week we saw the rise of a lot of counter decks, picked specifically to try to combat the Necromancer Menace, like Syndra or Dawnblade Dorinthia. After all of that hate, he's still the winningest hero of the weekend with 3 national championship victories and 1 Battle-Hardened win. This seems like a pretty strong signal that he's not just a flash in the pan, and we can expect him to continue to do well into the future. Players preparing for Pro Tour Singapore will definitely have to keep him in mind when picking their own deck, considering that we can expect him to be highly represented and played by some of the best players in the world. The second thing that jumped out to me was just how well Slippy performed. It seems that Assassin players are leaning towards them over Marionette in this current meta, which honestly shouldn't be all that surprising considering that Slippy gets free go again every single turn to help kill the allies that Gravy Bones puts on the board. It's also decently strong into Syndra and has some incredibly powerful turns, giving you at least a puncher's chance even into your bad matchups. Something else I'm seeing quite a bit of is Dash.io doing quietly pretty well. She's another deck that seems to do pretty well into both Gravy Bones and Syndra. She seems to be really good at punishing decks that either don't want to block too much or can't block that much, and then runs them over before they get to set up. After watching her a bit on the streams this weekend, I was really impressed by the boost attacks that let you put an item from your hand into play when they hit. Into a deck like Gravy Bones, you can just send these into an ally, kill the ally, guarantee the item hits the board, gain an action point, draw a card of Cerebellum, shoot your pistol another time. It really pushed the power level of the deck, I would say. Prism also keeps making a splash in the tournament scene lately, winning 2 national championships this weekend. She, like Dio, is able to abuse the on-hit mechanic by sending her heralds at allies. This gives her a card in Soul and a free Figment flip with Empyrean Rapture. Doing this multiple times over the course of a game lets her keep allies clear while still playing a very strong tempo strategy. Combine that with the pings the deck has access to, like the Figment of Ravages, and you have a pretty tricky matchup for the Necromancer to navigate. We have only 2 more weeks until the Pro Tour, and it does really feel like the meta is starting to coalesce. Gravy Bones, Syndra, and Slippy seem to be about 1 step ahead of the pack, while Prism and Verdance are right behind them. We do still have 1 more curveball before the Pro Tour in the form of the Ira Armory deck releasing on July 11th. Without the full reveals of the cards that are going to be in it, it is difficult for players to properly prepare for it for the Pro Tour. It would be pretty wild if the Armory deck came out and made Ira super strong only days before deck registration. Alright, that's enough about the meta. We have more interesting things to talk about, starting with a special event in Singapore. That's right, Singapore Beach Party, July 20th, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. at Ola Beach Club. I actually already bought my ticket for this event right after booking my flight to Singapore because I knew I wasn't going to want to miss it. My favorite part of these big Pro Tour, World Championship type events is traveling and seeing the world and spending a lot of time with the community and friends that I made in it. Hanging out at a pool party with them in Singapore seems like a pretty nice way to end a Pro Tour weekend. There's going to be food, drinks, and each entry comes with a commemorative beach towel, a gravekeeping promo, and one High Seas treasure pack. The beach party is all about enjoying Singapore as a major stop on the World Tour, connecting the community, and making memories beyond just the game. To celebrate this celebration, we're going to be giving away 2 free tickets here on World Tour Weekly. All you have to do is comment down below which hero you would like to take to the beach party and why. We'll be picking 2 winners from the comment section. You don't technically have to leave a like on the video in order to be considered, but the button is like right there, and it can't hurt, right? My pick has to be Bravo's star of the show. That guy looks like he'd be a lot of fun at parties. Alright, now it's time for the big news. On July 1st, LSS dropped a trailer for the new set, Super Slam. Now, not only was this a trailer for the new set, but we also got text for all 4 new heroes and a couple of other cards. There's also a crowd booing and crowd cheering mechanic to go along with the new talents Revered and Reviled. Revered heroes are the crowd favorites. According to the article, they fight tough but fair, building an aura of suspense, keeping the crowd on the edge of their seats until they mount a final comeback. Pleiades Superstar is one of 2 new Guardian heroes in the set and can tap to remove a suspense counter from an aura you control. If you do this, you put a suspense counter on an aura of suspense you control. What does that mean? I have no idea. But if I have to guess, it's about building up to a larger payoff. She also creates a confidence token whenever the crowd cheers for you. We don't know what a confidence token does yet either, but we did see some cards that make the crowd cheer for you that we'll go over in a little bit. The other revered hero in the set is the brute Tough Nut Bumbling Hulkster. This is our first 3 intellect hero in Classic Constructed, but he kind of has pseudo 4 intellect by using his hero ability. This lets him tap to pitch the top card of his deck. If it has 6 or more power, the crowd cheers for him. Whenever the crowd does cheer for him, he makes a toughness token, which we also don't know what it does yet. It does mean that this hero will have a pretty tough time blocking, considering he'll only have 3 cards active to defend at any time. I do expect that the toughness token will likely help with that though. I imagine your first thought about this hero is probably the exact same thought I had, which is it's time to bust out the Rock Marvel. To show a bit more of what we can expect with the revered heroes, let's take a look at the revered action attacks that were also spoiled. First up is the Comeback Kid. This cooler Wounded Bull says that when you attack with it, if you are less life than your opponent, the crowd cheers for you. If the crowd has cheered for you this turn, it gets +1. Notice that the crowd doesn't need to cheer for you from this card's effect, it's just if the crowd has cheered for you this turn at all. If the crowd cheers for you from the Tough Nut ability, for example, but you're higher life than your opponent, the Comeback Kid will still get the +1. This card seems really powerful, honestly. It ticks all of the boxes. Above rate attack, it blocks 3, it pops phantasm attacks, and it gets the crowd to cheer for you, which can help trigger our hero's abilities. I wouldn't be surprised to see this card become a 3-of staple. The other revered card that we have spoiled is Crowd Goes Wild, a 3-cost yellow majestic that attacks for 6 and blocks for 3. However, if the crowd has cheered you this turn, this card costs 3 less to play, making it a free 6-power attack. We'll only really know how powerful this card is when we see the rest of the set. I feel like we are going to need ways to get the crowd to cheer for you with Go Again in order for it to be very powerful. But free things in card games tend to be pretty strong, so I'm going to keep an eye on it. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, we have the reviled heroes with just some of the hardest card art I've seen in the game. I mean, look at this guy. The first is the Reviled Guardian, Leith Goldmane, Vile Savant. Our first 5 intellect hero is unfortunately not a wizard, but this one is pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. To balance out the strength of drawing an extra card every turn, the base power and defense value of his cards are halved, which is very funny considering he's a dwarf. Leith can also pay 2 and tap at instant speed to have the crowd boo him. Then pump defending action cards he controls by 1 defense value. Anytime the crowd boos him, he creates a might token. I feel like he'll play really strongly with cards that pump because they won't be affected by his hero power. We will see another couple of cards that play really well with him here in a second. Our other reviled hero is the Brute KO Underhanded Cheat. Another incredible hero portrait that I am sure will look very good in Marvel form. Unfortunately for him, KO has still not found a prosthetic, so he only gets 1 weapon zone yet again. But he can pay 4 and tap at instant speed to give target attack action card he controls base 6 power. This doesn't add on to an attack's pre-existing base power, it substitutes. For example, if you attack with Command and Conquer 4/6 and then activate this ability, the Command and Conquer will still be coming in 4/6, not 12. Whenever the crowd boos him, he creates a Vigor token. This will allow him to activate his ability with only a blue, which I think is probably going to be pretty relevant. Alright, our first revealed reviled card is Bully Tactics. A 0-cost attack action card that blocks for 3 and attacks for 3. When you attack with it, you can pay up to 3 resources and intimidate your opponent that many times. Pay 1 resource, intimidate 1 time. Pay 3 resources, intimidate 3 times. Mocking Blow is another reviled attack action card that costs 0 and blocks for 3. This one has base power 1, and if you have more life than the hero, the crowd boos you. If you've been booed this turn, this gains +4. What I'm gathering from the hero abilities and the card spoiled is that the reviled heroes seem to play a little bit more tricky than their revered counterparts. It looks like they might lean on reaction and instant style effects to pump power or make things awkward for their opponent via things like Intimidate. For example, Mocking Blow attacks for 1, but if you have higher health, the crowd will boo you and pump it up by 4. Then KO can activate his ability and change the base power to 6. This means the attack comes in for 10. Okay, now that we have an idea of the heroes and what they want to be doing, let's take a look at the one-time return of the super rares, the charm cycle. Each charm seems to be made for each hero as sort of a super move. You can choose any number of abilities on the card, and if you're able to get value out of all 3 abilities, they look to be pretty powerful. My favorite little interaction so far is that you can use Liar's Charm to get rid of your own hero text and then attack, meaning the attack doesn't get halved. I don't know if that's going to be any good or not, but I do think that it's pretty neat. And that's what we have so far for Super Slam. The world premiere is starting on September 12th in Montreal. And since the world premieres are some of my favorite events to go to, I am absolutely going to do my best to get out there. Alright, that's all for today's video. Don't forget to leave a comment to try to win a ticket to the beach party. I'm Majin Bey, and I'll see you next time on World Tour Weekly.